And we're on Do It Live. I'm so psyched to have these folks here joining me. Got Michael Nimitz, got Nick Hayes, and a lot of other friends just joining in. I'm really psyched to do this one because I've gotten to take some time. I'm Darrell Becker. I've gotten to take some time talking about wellness and holistic healthcare for the last 25 years and doing my best to make money with that over here in the big island of Hawaii and Vermont when I lived before. And I was really psyched before that little Do It Live intro. Daphne was speaking about trauma as TRE. What does that stand for, Daphne? Are you there?
Yes, it is trauma and tension and trauma releasing exercises.
Tension and trauma releasing exercises. So yeah, I think it was a great way to start off because it does remind me of some of the Kundalini yoga that I've been practicing more recently, where there's a lot of tensing up and releasing things going on. But I haven't watched a video on how to do TRE yet. And this is, it's one of those reasons why I really want people to stop saying, I've tried everything to help my healthcare condition. Because I just found out about TRE today, and how could you ever have tried everything if you're in the business for 25 years and you're still discovering like new things every day? There's tons of new ways of dealing with this one. So yeah, Daphne, take it away with how did you find TRE and what's it done for you?
Well, let's see. I was going through some health issues and, I was trying everything to get better. And a friend shared this technique and she showed it to me. And I started practicing. And then I realized, this is so powerful. It could change, the life of so many people. And so I thought, I should really get certified and learn how to teach it and share it with others. And so that's what I did. And at the time I was in California, and I found a place 2 hours away, and it was a weekend course to begin with. Then it was ongoing training for on your own, and a lot of reading, psychology and the physiology of stress and how we are actually physically affected by the stress cycle. And through that process, there was a lot of journaling, a lot of self-reflection and observation of, the progress of how it was affecting my physiology, my life. So it has helped me, well, for one, with public speaking, for sure, because after I became certified, I thought, okay, I'm going to go give public presentations different places. And I thought, oh, I would never be able to do that. But I realized that I felt a lot more at ease, and I wasn't frozen in front of people wanting to cry. And I realized, wow, this is really powerful, because it truly removes, when we are under stress, we're constantly living at the threshold of breaking, and this down regulates it. So we have a lot bigger bandwidth before we reach that breaking point of freezing up and not being able to express ourselves. And so it helped me really to face challenging situations in the long run. In some cases I might still get choked up and nervous, but it's not paralyzing. And so it helps push that boundary continuously. and taking the steps required. And physically, I've been a meditator for a long time, and I realized and noticed how much it quieted the mind. And I thought this could be helpful for people that are just getting started with meditation, because the first thing that they say, the first obstacle is, oh, my mind will not shut up. I could never meditate. And I'm not even going to bother trying. But in this case, they could try doing something like this beforehand, and then their mind will be so still that meditation becomes, even more pleasurable, more effortless. And yeah. And another thing I noticed specifically physiologically was I realized after a few months that when I would start cooking, my mouth would start watering, which is something that we're designed to do, because the digestion starts long before we actually take a first bite, and by the production of saliva before when we see something. And I realized, wow, this is something that I have not experienced or noticed before. And so I thought, this is definitely working at a physiological level that I'm not even conscious about.
I want to know if are there any links or specific places where people can learn to do the exercises themselves effectively, or
Yes. So, well, we cannot promote our services to students. No, but I would be willing to share and have individual classes, or reduced, 5 people, if for whoever is interested to share what the exercises are. The founder has a website. His website is traumaprevention.com. And he sells a book that has the sequence, it has the theory, it has the history and evolution of what he developed. And then he also has DVDs that show the exercises if the images in the book are not sufficient for people, or for people that like more different media.
so it sounds like this is something that would be a lot easier than easier on the body than just beginning a long-term Xanax prescription and just like getting consistently drugged out. I've known people who are on long-term Xanax, and it seemed like it had like a big, huge impact on them. And of course, I know other people who just did the more, I don't know, widely available alcohol, which was, like it's like another way of handling stress responses. And my own pattern of like I just for too many years it was cannabis. And I'm grateful to step away from things that have like huge impact and move towards more of a natural like response that opens things up in general. But it was really good to like get more on TRE and trauma and tension release exercises. And yeah, you got my full attention, Daphne, and I'm psyched that I get to see what kind of, what else I can do. I'm gonna like definitely reach out to you about that, because I want to learn more. And yeah, is this something you can teach over Zoom, do you think?
Yeah, the training that we did, it was also over Zoom. The only thing is, and I thought that maybe this could be something that I could offer an alternative to architecture, but I haven't figured a way to scale it up to the magnitude that is always promoted. And I think it might not lend itself to large scale, mainly because it's such a sensitive subject. Even when you become certified, they recommend that for one teacher not to have more than 10 in-person people, just because if somebody has a reaction, that you can be present for them and not be, spread out too thin and not be able to attend to everyone. So thank you very much, Michael, for bringing this up to do it live. And I would be happy to share more with whoever's interested, and maybe even brainstorm on how I can maybe make an offer to the world, and at least even locally start creating a funnel, contact health centers locally, and promote that, because I have since moved, so I've never really attempted to start classes here, but I am well equipped. I have blankets, I have pillows, I'm ready to go wherever, there's a space to have 10 people have a in-person group to promote
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to show us a TRE exercise that doesn't take too long right now?
Yeah, so I can. The main thing is it's a series of 7, and just by doing like the first or the third, it's not going to do a whole lot. Meaning, what I can do is I can show you the video that that was part of my presentation with, I don't know if basically you lay on your back, that manage to activate the tremor itself, and it's like the size. I can show you that, but I'm not. Maybe you can continue going. I can look for the material and see if I can find something that would
Sure.
make sense.
Sure, we'll continue with wellness. And
Okay.
yeah, thank you for that, Daphne. If you could find out how, like, if there's like a short 2-minute shareable version of how to do this. Obviously, if it's going to go into the full-on 10-minute version, I think we just want to like share like a link to people on how to actually learn this on their own. Yeah, you got something, Dave?
Oh, I'll wait for this to be complete, but I do have some thoughts on some
Wellness?
other health and wellness healings, but go ahead and finish this. I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, okay. Well, I was mostly transitioning to say, there's a reason why holistic healthcare is just not very widely known by the older people in general. And obviously, if you're younger, well, you don't really have chronic illnesses as much, so you also might not know about it. So it kind of hits both markets in that capacity. People, there's a lot of, and of course, for good reason, there's a lot of fear. Why are people afraid of doctors or going to the hospital? And one of the reasons why is because it technically is the official number 3 cause of death for Americans, and I would probably speculate on probably mostly, most industrialized nations, it's the number 3 cause officially. And so we're talking about into the hundreds of thousands of people dying per year just by going to a doctor and not malpractice them, just the doctors following orders. I had a video queued up on it about the MD gorilla in the MD elephant in the room kind of thing. And that was a thing to sort of understand that, where this is why people instead just they get into a situation and then they go to the white lab coat of a doctor. They go to that situation. There's that type of, my insurance paid for it. Like, unlike say for your car breaks down and you just have to pay money for that, your house breaks and you have to pay money for that. But for some reason, people are thinking like a child, like, mommy, daddy, government, pay for my health, like that's like, so they'll pay for it, but they'll give you something that will cause other problems or hurt you or kill you, and so that's something where I was just saying, like, this is part of wellness, is to understand what to avoid and why to avoid it. And I'm going to see about queuing up a bit of a clip on that one. See if I can find that one there.
Yeah, Darrell, I had a story along these lines. My father, he had a stroke, and they prescribed a particular drug for him, and it had nothing to do with it was for a high blood pressure, and he didn't have high blood pressure. But I even talked to him about it, but because the guy in the white coat told him to do it, he just kept taking the damn pills.
That's certainly part of the risk of just believing in them and doing it. So yeah, I think that is going to be the huge risk, basically. Just so it's a
Doctor,
short video.
You hit on the third leading cause of death in the United States, and I'm sure most of us could figure it's either heart related or cancer or
Darrell, can you raise the volume on that?
things like that.
Yep.
Can you clue us into what that is?
I'm going to try to do my best to raise that volume.
Doctor, you hit on the third leading cause of death in the United States, and I'm sure most of us could figure it's either heart related or cancer or diabetes, things like that. Can you clue us into what that is and why?
Yeah, okay, and thank you for asking that, because this is the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room that nobody's talking about. The third leading cause of death, as published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, is MD-directed treatments. This means you go to a medical doctor, an MD, he gives you a treatment and you die from it. According to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, 15,000 Medicare patients a month are killed by MD treatment, and nobody goes to jail. A handful of terrorists fly 2 planes into the Twin Towers. 3,500 people die, and we go to war. But 15,000 people a month are killed by medical doctor treatments, and we don't bat an eyelash. This is because we have been, I don't want to say brainwashed, that's not the correct term, but we have been, for the last 100 years, kind of led into this false belief. I think it was Marcus Welby that started it, that the medical doctor is king and knows everything about everything. And really, you need to just shut up and follow your medical doctor's advice. Most people in the United States have no idea at all of the history of the evolution of medicine in the United States. In the early 1900s, it was a relatively level playing field between the chiropractors, the osteopaths, the homeopaths, and the MDs. In 1915, 1920, there was something called the Flexner Report. The Carnegie Corporation funded this man named Abraham Flexner. He went all around the country, and he went on stagecoach and train and horseback. This was before the interstate highway system, right? It took Flexner 5 years to do this. He went all around the country and did an inventory of all of the medical schools that prescribed drugs. He brought the list back to the Carnegies, who owned drug companies, and then the Carnegies and the Rockefellers gave millions of dollars of free money to the medical schools and hospitals in the United States that were prescribing drugs. That was the beginning of the end. After the Flexner Report, there was no more level playing field in the United States.
Yeah, I think, did the audio come through? Was that okay? You got the gist of it. I had a more elaborate version from James Corbett of the Corbett Report going over the Flexner Report, but you kind of got the idea. It's part of navigating wellness and health is navigating away from hazards, which is trusting in the wrong treatments, the wrong diagnostics that will actually hurt you. And many women know all about this, with completely unnecessary mammograms and pap smears that are frequently just damaging and not accurate to what they were told that the diagnostic was going to give. And then, of course, treatments that themselves are completely toxic and damaging. But that's about making a profit. And so the next step, of course, is moving towards, so like what can you do? And yeah, if you cleared your mind, Dave, I'm curious now on what was on your mind before that you were thinking of.
Oh, okay. Well, I was curious if anyone here has heard of body talk. it's a reciprocal kind of a tapping thing, and then I did some acupuncture. Oh, let me back up a moment. I hurt my shoulder, and I was on the cusp of my insurance company with the job I had, and I hurt my shoulder. I went to the surgeon, and if you go to a surgeon and say, what should I do? He's going to want to do surgery. And I said, well, let me look into other things. So I looked into every other thing, and I ended up doing this ozone treatment, acupuncture, body talk. And then I loved last night when we had the Joe Dispenza thing, because that was the one where I healed my own shoulder and I went back to work, and it was fantastic. But in the process, when I was a lot younger, I had thyroid surgery. And when I take levothyroxine every day, because I had 2/3 of my thyroid out before I knew that I had other options. I was just young. Anyway, that's a different story. So while I'm fixing my shoulder using the Joe Dispenza, breaking the habit of being yourself, I fixed my thyroid. And I went into my thyroid guy, and he goes, something's wrong. I have to change your dose after, 20 years of the same dose. And so I'll change it and come back in 3 months. And I go back, and he goes, something is really wrong. I have to change it again. I said, oh, are you lowering it? And he goes, yeah, and that can't be. You had your thyroid taken out. You're 2/3 of it. I said, I think I'm fixing it because I'm doing work with my shoulder using Joe Dispenza, just using my mind. He goes, that's impossible. Come back in 2 months. I go back in 2 more months, and he refused, and it's getting better because my mind is fixing, it's doing the chemical changes to fix my, what my thyroid did. So
And
anyway.
what was his reaction to that when you came back 2 months later? The doctor's reaction?
He refused to lower it. And at this point, I was talking to my energy person, and so I said, he's not going to lower it. And I fired his ass. And I went to another doctor and I explained the situation, and she lowered it to such a minimal amount that it was really fascinating how the mind is so powerful and can do so much. So I loved last night when Joe Dispenza came up. I'm very familiar with what he does. And anyway,
I did want to jump in here because related to this, I ran an episode of Practical Parapsychology inside of Autonomy, the first one I think it was for this season, which was about energy healing, some of the research on it, and some of the potential science of what's mechanically maybe going on and all that sort of stuff. So I think that'd be worthwhile to check up on. I do this stuff on myself all the time. I haven't been sick forever because I use my own energy to deal with anything before it becomes a problem. And even if it has become a problem, like an injury, then I can make it last a minuscule amount of time compared to what it normally would. So it's something I highly recommend because it's free. People can just learn to do it. And if they need to go to someone who does it more for a living and specializes in it, then they can do that too. But it's an option.
beautiful.
Yeah, there are so many options. Well, I'm sorry, you want to go in? Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to follow up. I'm ready whenever you want to. I found.
I'm going to go ahead and make you a co-host.
The book.
So you can.
Okay.
I can make you a co-host, Daphne, so you can share a video if you had something to share. Is that what you meant?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. And this is not necessarily for doing it yourself or do it, but it's more like, what does it look like? Because some of you might even be wondering, what did it even look like? Okay.
What you are about to see in this 3 tremors. This individual has evoked these tremors after his first time of performing a 15-minute exercise routine. These tremors are identical to the tremors being researched in fields of study such as whole body vibration, biomechanical stimulation, which is used in physical therapy, and vibrational therapy, which is being used by many Olympian and professional athletes to increase their performance. These tremors, known as neurogenic tremors, originate in the natural processes of the neurophysiology of the body. They do not need any external stimulation to activate them. Neurogenic tremors are part of the instinctual procedural memory of the human organism. As you can see, these tremors can be quite strong. They can vary between 8 to 12 hertz, creating relaxation, or 50 to 150 hertz, providing pain relief, usually in the lower back and pelvic area. The exercises to evoke these tremors consist of a process of stressing and stretching the major muscle groups in the legs. This will evoke mild postural tremors. Once the postural tremors have been evoked, the individual lies in a prone position and performs a specific exercise designed to stretch and stress the psoas muscles. After the tremors have reached the pelvic area, they travel naturally from the base of the spine upwards toward the neck, releasing deep chronic tension from the sacrum to the cranium. This provides relief of the deep chronic tension that can be found in the spinal muscles. As you can see, these tremors form a wave-like pattern as they come and go according to the natural relaxation and tension of the muscle tissue. This natural tremoring process seems to have more long-lasting effects than machines because it permanently changes the physiology of the body. The consistent result of these self-induced tremors is deep relaxation, increased agility, and much greater mobility in the pelvic area. This technique has been used on numerous people with very encouraging results. If you're interested in learning more on how to evoke these neurogenic tremors, please go to www.traumaprevention.com.
Brilliant. That was really good to check it out. I know even just to watch a quivering pelvis is kind of at least giving a visual of where it starts, right, Daphne?
Yeah. So, I also thought, so there's this really small book that he sells, and I just saw on his website that they actually have it as an ebook as well. And this one is a really great start for, and I can put the link in the chat if any. But this is a great start. You can definitely start on your own with this book, and then you can. Okay, hold on a second. Let me everyone, please. And I also thought just now there is one exercise that maybe you could experiment with and play. Like, let's say you have a regular exercise routine of sorts. You go for long walks or you go to the gym. When you come back, what you can do, and I'll adjust my camera so that I can make a little room. Let me know if you cannot see, but if
good.
you were to and it can be whatever capacity you can just bend forward, after having exercised your legs already, and you can go as far forward as you can where you're comfortable, and you make your head and your arms really relax. And instead of locking your knee in place, you want to make sure the knee is slightly bent, and even just being in this position, sometimes it's triggering for people and they might start tremoring in this location. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
So that's like, a beginning as well. So Jerry, if I don't know if that's enough of what you were asking about, but that's the one I could think of that might be the most immediate example of this without
That's
doing all of them.
That's a great example, because when I've done yoga, I start to shake sometimes, and then I think, oh, this is wrong. I need to relax. But it seems like this is natural. And if we kind of trigger ourselves, that's healing.
Yeah, and
that's
oftentimes, even when you're doing the TRE practice, you can really see a difference when you know that there's two different, they're a little bit different. There's the one that when you're under stress of physical exercise, that's not quite the same exercise. It's not quite the same trigger. But when you are fully relaxed, that's when the tremor tries to come out, especially if we are storing a lot of tension. It might come out a lot easier and faster than, you know, somebody that doesn't have as much tension stored in the body. So it could be. And
This is fascinating.
And in the on the website for David Berceli, they offer something that's called neurogenic yoga, which means instead of doing these other 7 exercises, you go through a yoga class and then afterwards you trigger the same mechanism. So
The reason I asked was because you mentioned like this is great before meditation, and my mind's been racing like a race car the past week. So I had to ask. Thank you.
you're welcome. And also it's really good for veterans. He has done a lot of work with soldiers coming back from war zones, and it's been proven very helpful. I think at some point he was trying to train people before they went to you know, the tours, so that they had this tool while on the ground. I'm not sure where that specific project stands today, but I know he's been putting a lot of work into it.
That's brilliant. It is interesting how all of nature tries to do this anyway. I mean, I've certainly seen my cat kind of spaz out like that a bit, and then it all calms down. That's part of it. I definitely know in exercises like holding the plank, which is like the beginning part of a push-up. And once I get to minute 3.5, that's where the shaking starts for me. It's I know like that it just, the tension is getting released at that point. I go to like a whole 5 minute 20 seconds usually, and then I just stop. It's not I don't take exercises to the max. I can do 8.5 minutes, but I don't want to do that plank, you know. But I think it's interesting to see what happens with, certainly like yoga is like, this is my 2nd year of yoga. So I'm like really starting to get the hang of it, really feeling it basically. Well, maybe actually, I think I'm entering my third year of yoga at this point. Still feeling very beginner with all of this. And there's so many options. I think that what a lot of people don't understand frequently with the wellness and health is if they have an acute problem or a chronic problem, then it's looked at like it's an emergency. It can be looked at like there's no way around it. And what was mentioned before, Dave, that when you mentioned about Joe Dispenza and breaking the habit of being yourself, I came across it in a different direction from Frederick Dodson's book, Parallel Universes of Self, where the author is it's a really good audiobook. That's how I've been through the book a couple times. Has a lot of exercises to go through reality creation and making the reality that you want. That it's a very interesting thing that any health problem that's going on and manifesting is part of what was actually focused on and desired on some level, conscious or unconscious, obviously, habits will make the impact, like before I did a bunch of exercise, too much of my life would be sitting in a chair. Fun fact about being an acupuncturist and holistic healthcare professional, you don't get a lot of exercise doing the work. So you need to actually do work elsewhere and at other times. So that's something I've definitely discovered. Yeah, it's a fascinating world of options out there. And I almost was going to grab some acupuncture needles and show you, hey, here's what it looks like. This is what, in case you haven't seen, and I can from right back there. I can certainly do that. And also handheld laser pointers where I just use the laser on the actual acupuncture point. It goes in deep. You all can buy a laser pointer for $20 on Amazon. And the trick is, of course, these are subtle arts. I think less subtle is something like the TRE that you're describing, Daphne. That's a lot more like physiological, where you're really doing something similar to every Saturday I go and learn from someone learning chiropractic adjustments to add to what I know how to do. And I'll tell you, this is taking me a long time with once a week, like training like this, but there's a lot of options out there. I think that's the thing for people to understand, that there's a lot more than simply going to what your insurance will pay. And yeah, wow, that's interesting. I'm just looking around here at the board. I have 2 versions of Nick. That's fun. I love when you got that going. That's professional. I need to have a couple more versions of me on this board here.
Hey, Darrell, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, Kat.
You talked about all the many options out there. And my question is, like, as a person who looks for the alternative solutions, it can get very expensive trying thing after thing after thing. And I have my favorites at this point. But every so often something new comes up, right? And I don't know how to address that issue. Going to a doctor is about the last thing I would want to do. What are your thoughts on how a person finds their healing path, or, what recommendations would you have?
So what I prefer from my own personal experience is to seek out a medical professional who is finding a way to seek what is biocompatible with my body when I'm working with them. And some of the most accessible people who know how to do that are chiropractors trained in applied kinesiology and clinical kinesiology. So these are the actual testings of the strength and weaknesses of lots of different muscles. Some people know of just like these digital O-ring tests, or just like the pushing on one arm. Yeah, those are 2 muscles that I just demonstrated right there. And obviously it's more applicable when testing someone else's muscles than testing my own, because I'm having to push against it and that kind of thing. But I'm looking to find someone who knows those 2 disciplines of applied kinesiology and clinical kinesiology. And that's a chiropractor, generally speaking. I'm an acupuncturist trained in those methods, but that's kind of rare. So I'd be looking for someone like that. ICAK as the International College of Applied Kinesiology, and they have a directory of how to find professionals in your zip code. Sorry that I don't really quite have the availability to find like say in Bulgaria or many other countries out there for some folks here in Autonomy. I'm still looking around to find where do you find these people? But Kat, I think if I remember, Maryland for you, is that true? Yeah. So for sure, easy in the the 50 states of the US. That's it's very doable. Problem can be, of course, if you're living very rural, that can be an issue. Or there could be less options. That's a thing. But I would be looking for a chiropractor who did applied kinesiology, and literally find a chiropractor into your search engine. And then under modalities, you'd be looking just specifically applied kinesiology. And then there's a little area where you can put in your zip code. And like I could share screen and show how all this is done, but the reason why this is why these people save you money is because you go to a visit there and they're going to be able to test your medicines, prescription, your supplements, your foods, and see like, what are you eating on the regular, your stupid shampoos with its nasty ass chemicals, your cleansers that you thought were like, I don't know, needed to clean everything with, you know, the stuff that goes in contact with you and that goes inside of you. And they're going to show you what the impact is on these vital systems of your body. They're going to be looking at your spine, like all chiropractors. And your spine is like it's like the circuit breaker of your body. It's going to show what's on and what's off, you know, and it'll give a real deal, clear version of that. So that's why I think they're one of the most affordable ways of finding like that. Because if you go to a naturopathic doctor, generally they're not trained in these methods of biocompatibility. They are ready to use a wide spectrum of laboratory tests to find a baseline of what is been seen to be acceptable or normal for a lot of people. But guess what? You're not a lot of people. You're you. You're not like an average. You're specific, you know. So they're guessing, and they're guessing on whether you can take a lot of supplements, and naturopathic doctors sell a lot of supplements. And the same thing for chiropractic. I'm saying same thing for acupuncturists, like in my field, who don't have biocompatibility testing, is we'll sell a lot of herbal formulas and single herbs, and we'll be guessing, but not be able to test it. And that's expensive, and expensive in more than one way. Because if you think that acupuncture is dangerous, but that herbs are safe and easy to use, you have a screw loose. You don't understand biochemistry. Acupuncture and homeopathy and subtle energy medicines are extremely easy and safe, because either they're going to help you a little bit or a whole lot, or they're probably not going to really help you that much at all if they're applied correctly. They just don't do a lot of huge impact. It takes a lot of powerful acupuncture to do some impact. It doesn't take that much of the right herbal formulas and the right specific vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and, you know, when needed, certainly powerful pharmaceutical products. They will have huge impact. That is dangerous. So you want to go to someone who knows how to check for biocompatibility. I wasn't looking at the clock on how long that answer took, Kat, but like it felt like it was forever on a soapbox. You know, I would, yeah.
Darrell,
Michael?
do you mind? Would you mind doing the sharing screen thing and taking us through how to look that up? Because I think
Yeah, I'm
there's
gonna
quite
go
a few
do that.
people that'd probably be interested in seeing how you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, okay. Let's have someone throw me, like, as soon as I get there, as soon as I'm in there, then I'm gonna have someone, you know, let's see, find a chiropractor. Make that nice and big.
How about the applied kinesiology?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and like actually I'll go the ICAK find. Actually, I'm gonna have to I should have gotten this one ready ahead of time. There we go. ICAK find a doctor. And that URL is icakusa.com/find-a-doctor. And I go ahead and now I need someone's zip code. Someone give me a zip code.
83642.
83642. Okay, something not 800 miles from there, but something like a reasonable 25 miles. That's reasonable if you can drive 25 miles. So here on the acakusa.com, I got 3 people from zip code 83642, which, wow, looks like Idaho. Looks like there we go. And then, okay, so now here I am, I've got 3 choices. Let's just say this is my client in area code 83642. And how do I know which one of these to work with? Like I got Dr. Todd Watts, I got Andrew Rostenberg, I got Devin Orton. All of them look to be chiropractors. And yeah, that's what DC right here stands for, is Doctor of Chiropractic. Dieback is a diplomat of diplomat, applied kinesiologist. I'm not sure exactly what MS is over here. Masters in Science, maybe. But then the cool thing is, okay, I'm going to go to the first one, totalbodywellnessclinic.com. And I'll just go ahead and open that one up. And this is that first one, restore the real you. And I want to understand, okay, so what's our processes? I go to like there, I'm gonna start to look up, what do they do? Capacity, okay, that's interesting. Assess, investigate. So I'm not totally sure on what methods that they're doing. So that's where like I hit like this thing where, okay, that's a little bit of a question mark. He could be really good. Allegedly he does applied kinesiology, but I'm not just sure. So I'm going back to my first one. I'll go see what's Dr. Rostenberg do. So and I go there, redmountainclinic.com. Let's find out, what's that guy like? What's he got to say for himself? And so here he's got some care options. So I'm looking, and there's nutrition. That's okay. Well, that says Nutridyne. Conditions. So I'm looking to see what are your options. I'm looking to understand what they do. So I see he's doing some structural work there. Okay, so now I go down. Here's applied kinesiology. That's nice. Nice to know that Rostenberg does that. Functional medicine, that's a catch-all system that basically is trying to identify root causes of disease, which is nice. The problem of people who do functional medicine but don't do some type of AK or some applied kinesiology, they don't do some kind of biocompatibility testing, is that they're going off of laboratory analysis only, which, like I said, is useful, is interesting, but you're not an average. You are a specific person with specific history. And that's where AK or applied kinesiology comes in handy. So already I'm kind of liking that. This looks like a very, it looks pretty comprehensive, like what he's got going on here. I like this guy. And then what I would want to do, so I'm just going to go into docs. I've got a document of 9 questions to ask these guys. Questions for chiropractors. Questions to ask chiropractors. And so what I have my clients go ahead and do is basically I have them get on the phone with, in this case, Dr. Rostenberg. Are you trained in applied kinesiology? Well, I mean, obviously the answer is yes. And that just starts the conversation. Have you used muscle testing methods of AK or clinical kinesiology, CK, to test medicines, supplements, and foods for biocompatibility, safety, and effectiveness? So this helps you understand, are they going to get you a result? Are they going to actually like be able to, can you bring in your medicines and your foods or other healthcare products, other personal products, and find out if it's helping you, neutral, or hurting you? That way you can stop. Because generally speaking, what you're doing to yourself is why you are experiencing the symptoms you've got. You did it. You are 100% responsible usually with what you're consuming, with thoughts and foods and medicines and everything. And then the question of, so do you use other diagnostic determining methods, like to determine biocompatibility, like electromedical devices, electrodermal screening, like an EAV device? That's nice if they have some other doodads that amazing technology of the last century, electromedicine, to check to compare with what the muscles, strength of muscles and weaknesses of muscles are doing. You can ask them then question 4, do they have electromedical tools like pulsed electromagnetic therapy devices, PEMF, right frequency generators, lasers, magnetic therapy devices? If they have some of these devices, that's nice. It's okay if they don't have diagnostic biocompatibility devices. It's okay if they don't have other electromedical tools, but it's nice if they do. Those are yes, no questions. And then, of course, you're going into asking them the very important question: have you treated anyone with my disease, my symptom, my chronic problem? What did you do for them? What methods did you use to treat it? How long did it take? What did it cost? So now you're getting a vision for what's it going to cost. Then you're asking them basically, are there any risks from these diagnostics and treatments that you use? It helps you see how aware of are they. For myself, the risk is you're not getting enough done fast enough, and your risk is that it's starting to get too expensive. Sometimes that could be a risk when I'm treating someone, if I was going to be straight up about a risk. But for some people, if their therapies or treatments are hard, or if you're using hardcore medicines, that could be a risk. Or if you're just running too many labs and you're going off of just the labs, that could be a risk. And how long, basically, how many treatments did it take to treat someone with your symptoms? And how long does it how long does it take to feel results from your treatments? What's that like? So yeah, in a nutshell, I hope you got a vision for that's kind of how I'd be looking for it. I'm looking for someone who's going to save you time and money, that it doesn't have to take forever to go through that. If you're just guessing, and a lot of people are just guessing, unless you have a biocompatibility method, unless you have technology like electromedical tools that do diagnostic similar to what applied and clinical kinesiology gives you, and or applied and clinical kinesiology, because that spine innervates these muscles, these many arm, leg, neck muscles. And not only that, it also innervates the internal organs at the same time. So these deltoid muscles, these, various deltoid muscles that go here, they also are innervating the lungs. So an applied kinesiologist would understand that if you're treating someone with a lung problem, you don't just push on the arm and only use one muscle. You need to use other muscles too, because it's going to compromise those muscles, like that. Or if someone had an injury. So yeah, this is the answer of how how you save yourself time and money is you go to someone who knows how to find what's biocompatible. You don't just guess, and you don't just trust in someone who's guessing. And lab tests, and just based on lab tests only, is fully guessing. It's very interesting. It's useful. Especially I like provoked urinalysis tests that look for toxicity. I'm big on those. And I could share a link later on. How do you get one of those? Because you don't need to go to a naturopath doctor or MD doctor to get that. I can share a link from foresthealth.com and how to get your own heavy metal screening test. And you could find out what kind of toxin load is your body holding on to. And
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because that's certainly it's a consideration. I think treating parasites is definitely a useful thing that can be done for many of us. A lot of us learned during this World War COVID event that ivermectin happens to actually be extremely useful in removing parasites. And that's where the health benefits were. Because once you have less parasites, well, lo and behold, wow, your respiratory situation got better. And that's basically what's going on, is you're removing a body burden. And I looked up ivermectin and how it was created and sourced and how long it's been used since the 80s. And I can't really find any critique or problem with it. So I luckily found that I could go to Tractor Supply Company over, not too far away, and I could get some of that version of it behind glass. I have to ask for them to unlock it and get it for me. And they get me the so-called injectable for cattle or pig. I think that's the version that I got for $40. But yeah, I'll find the link for Forest Health for heavy metal screens, and I'll share that one. I'm open to any questions because I didn't want to be like make this totally just the Darrell show. That's not the point of Do It Live.
I have a question, and I just saw your cat shake her head, so that was cool. Do you use shampoo?
Not often, but I do a little bit when I have to. That's how'd you know?
Well, you said the nasty ass shampoo when you were talking, so I was like, because it has like a lot of the nasty ass chemicals.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, what shampoo do you use?
Right now, I'm using Grandpa's Pine Tar shampoo, though I'm definitely open to other ones too. Though I looked up to see like that when you wash out the oils, it can create, impact for the scalp like that, and then it makes for like an artificial over oily buildup kind of condition. So I kind of did a lot of here where I live in Hawaii. It's all rainwater because we all live off of catchment tanks over here on the east side. So it's some pretty good thing just to wash in just rainwater alone. I do, like, but like, yeah, if like when doing yard work and things like that, and if like a bunch of stuff got in my hair, I'm going to need to wash it out, and I'm going to choose to wash it out with soap usually. So I think that ewg.org is a good site that you can go and look at almost any product that you have. That's the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org. You can go and look up whatever your shampoo is, and then you can find out. You can also look up the individual ingredients in your shampoo. The chances are, if you have a challenging time pronouncing the ingredient, you're probably using the wrong product. If you can't pronounce something like, sodium cocoyl sulfate, like that kind of thing. All these SLSs, sodium lauryl sulfate, these surfactants, these sudsing agents, they are known to have impact.
There's a really good shampoo product that I found. It's called Organic Excellence, and it doesn't have any of the toxic ingredients. But also, baking soda can be used with apple cider vinegar rinse as a conditioner. That's really good, and it leaves your hair soft and not it conditions it so you can actually comb it or brush it.
Yeah, I don't want to jump into this shampoo discussion because I'm also trying to not to use the products they usually try to sell you, like shampoo and toothpaste and all of that stuff that I don't think is healthy, and I'm kind of just going and trying to go without them, and then yeah, so I have had some problem with my hair because I think the sunshine has been doing some damage and it's been too dry. And just lately, so I've been using argan oil, and I feel it's very clean, like my hair feels clean. I've been just putting that after shower each morning on a daily basis, and I don't really wash it off. And yeah, my hair feels pretty good at the moment. It's just that. So maybe.
Can you share the product again, Otto? I want to see it and the name of it again.
Well, it's acrylic, but it's called argan oil. Argan oil.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I maybe any oil does is fine. I just had that one that I picked, and sometimes like I add some what are these things? These oils. I forgot what these things are called.
Oh, some essential oils of
essential oils. Yeah, so I mix them a little bit. So I guess any carrier oil probably works, but I used argan oil.
Yeah, what I like about working with a professional that like is not me is that I can just take myself out of the equation, because if I'm doing biocompatibility testing on myself, I'm really close to the problem. But if I'm going to someone else, and especially if I'm like, say, putting products in brown paper bags and he has no idea what he's testing, it's pretty much a double-blind situation. Neither of us have any idea of what we're testing. And it's fascinating to see the results that you see with biocompatibility testing, such as applied kinesiology. That is just it's an amazing situation of figuring things out. You see the same thing over and over again. At this point, I triangulate with several different types of testing in my own practice here. And this is my clinic. I just moved the massage table out of the way. But yeah, like this is where I practice in person. And I'm doing the muscle testing on various muscles. I'm doing respiratory testing. The respiration of a person can be tested where things flex in different ways when you are applying your thumbs on various points of the body. And then range of motion testing, where the actual shoulder muscles can increase or decrease in range of motion depending on what you're looking for. And these different ways triangulate an answer of what's going on, why are things happening this way, and what can I do about it? And I think it saves you a lot of money to go to someone who's not guessing as much as measuring. You know, it's kind of like if your carpenter was just, yeah, it looks about 15 feet high up there. And like, you know, you go to someone else who's actually like, we're going to use a tape measure and actually measure it, you know, to see. Oh, yeah.
And that's really good to hear, because I went through like 2 years of that whole functional medicine test of, you know, go get more blood tests and gosh, how many vials, and, you know, okay, now take this. And, you know, I just wasn't clear that it was really particularly beneficial at all.
Well, it
But
might
seems
not
to
be
the new thing.
It's not like a new thing. They've like, I mean, MDs and naturopathic doctors have been doing lab tests for, I don't know, decades, a long time now. And suddenly relabeling that as functional medicine and adding the application of so-called genetic testing, I take great issue with that, because like the so-called genetic testing, I have to say, I'm finding they are really out there. They're not really based in reality. You know, I recommend looking into the work of, you know, Dr. Harold Hillman and the work of Dr. Tom Cowan, who would question a lot of the basics of what is, you know, known to be genetics and genetic testing, and to look into also, damn, I had a malfunction. There's a lot of, yes, of course, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. I found it. You know, like he definitely like was just he was on the Joe Rogan show a long time ago, and he was basically saying, you know, like there's going to be a lot of investment in genetic testing coming up, and they will promote it and promote it and promote it, and they'll try to milk this one, but it's going to be, in the end of it all, not delivering results. What delivers results is literally what's on your body and in your body. Like you're better off going to do some TRE work with Daphne than you are going to get, I don't know, $500 worth of labs and like all kinds of like pay for kind of genetic tests that are not really based upon an accurate version of reality. It's more of an artifact created version of reality.
Well,
That's what I would-
especially when it comes into play, the epigenetics and everything that Joe Dispenza was talking about you know, how you create how it's the environment that affects us. And in this case, we have all the environments, right? We have the outer environment, specifically space related. Then there's the outer environment, what we're actually putting into our body through the skin, the food that we take in. But that affects our inner environment because it changes the physiology of our body. And then there's the inner environment of our thoughts and everything else associated with that. So it seems so diminutive in a way to just say, oh yeah, get a genetic test and this will solve all your problems, when really there's so many factors in play. Thanks for mentioning that, Darrell.
You're welcome. And I'm right now, I'm working on putting that from Forest Health, the heavy metal tests that people can go ahead and do. If you want to understand what your body burden is, there are benefits to it. I think that if you have the money, you can build a healthcare team. And that's based upon what your specific situation is. Like the first member of the team, I like to call them the mastermind, the person who's just like the grand visionary of what's going on. And that I probably would choose someone who's probably a chiropractor who does applied and clinical kinesiology. Clinical kinesiology just means that in addition to the arm and leg and neck muscles, they also have finger positioning and, eye positioning and all kinds of, and like subtle arm positioning that just add to a biocomputer technology. I would then have it's great to have a naturopathic doctor because they have in-house all kinds of medicines. And they're so ready to sell you all kinds of stuff. And as long as you have a deal with them to say, I'll take this stuff, but if I keep it unopened, I want to have 100% return guarantee. And I'll keep it all in package. And you take that over to the chiropractor to muscle test you with applied kinesiology to see, is it biocompatible, what the naturopathic gave me, And of course, they might have the really lots of labs to run, and some of those labs might be useful just for a picture. An acupuncturist is like an energy wizard who do like subtle work just to like get the job done and calm things down, and that's usually a great addition to your healthcare team. And the final member of a healthcare team that I like to recommend is an insider for the inside job. That's a medical doctor. So why a medical doctor is because they can prescribe the heavy duty nuclear weapons, pharmaceuticals. They can have hospital visitation. They can show up in case of a big bad problem and advocate on your behalf to stop damaging diagnostic and treatment modalities in case you're in trouble, like insurance, for your life, like they're there to show up as an advocate, like a lawyer, like you got someone on retainer, but in this case to save your life from getting like diagnostics or treatments that will hurt you or kill you. And they hopefully, there's I think there's private versions of insurance where you're just paying literally for a doctor, and that's where you can really get someone who's on your side, because if you're paying a doctor money for real, now they're incentivized to want to help you. If your insurance is paying for it, why are they incentivized? They're going to see you for 7 minutes, and they really have no incentive to be part of a medical team and be incentivized to work for you. If you pay people real money and you obviously test them out first, they will have a real incentive to help you. And just like with your house and your car, you're going to pay money to get results. It's great when insurance covers it, but I think that thinking like in that format is not usually healthy. I think that it's really wonderful. I know like life is expensive. I think that that's what I'm suggesting.
Do you have a recommendation on how to find that practitioner, which is an MD that has hospital privileges, that actually think outside the box, that can support that? Because I think that's the biggest challenge, is to even, how do you approach the subject, and how do you even find the people? Because they might not be safe advertising that that's what they do, right? In terms of, I'll work with your alternative team and be your quote unquote official family physician.
That's
Is
a
there
good question.
trick to that?
I think what I remember is I got to hear on the Survival podcast with Jack Spirko, I got to hear him interview a doctor who is part of that type of system, I'd have to hunt through his many podcasts and shows. He does 5 podcasts a week. So, but his stuff is really well searchable. And I think I could look for that and try to find it at, I'm not sure if I'm going to find it during the Do It Live, because, but I'll see if I could
okay.
find that. Yeah.
Maybe
Uh,
if you do find it, maybe next week as a follow-up, you can share that information. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same question about like picking an acupuncturist, right? Like as someone who doesn't know, like how do you know who's good?
How do I know who's a good acupuncturist?
Well, how do I know? Not you. I know you could
Right,
evaluate
okay.
way better than I could.
How does Kat know who's a good acupuncturist?
Yeah.
The tough one. I personally like referrals. I think that it's good to first of all like to start with that, like so that like who do you know who are you, who is recommended to you. I think that it's really a very simple thing if it's just straight acupuncture. If they're going to be doing actual holistic healthcare, a comprehensive version, like a contractor for the body, like what I do, that's a rare thing. I don't really get to see that. If they're like trying to learn as many different skills as possible and all integrate them under your scope of practice of licensed acupuncturist, that's what the LAC stands for. That's a different ball game. But in general, I mean, it's not very hard at all. Just you just go about the process of delivering a very simplistic and hopefully helpful treatment. If only all you do is needles, it should be very simple, and most of them will do an okay job. But I would probably start with referrals, and I'd be looking up to see who's near me. And I could even come up with questions, just like I'd had the questions for chiropractors. I'd have questions for acupuncturists. I'll make that one up in the future. What I would be asking, have you treated someone with my condition before? What did you do for it? How many treatments did it take to get some results? Do you use herbal medicine and nutritional products, nutraceuticals? It's good if you know what the word nutraceutical is if you're in the business. You know, that's a pharmaceutically refined natural products, nutraceuticals. And like it's good to find out like if they are into some type of pyramid scheme of like to get you to sign up on something. Like that's kind of like a little bit of a red flag for me if they want me to sign up under them and I just am starting with them. It's like, I don't know who you are, dude, and I don't know what this product is yet, but that would be like a thing I'm not looking for. What I am looking for is I want to know the basics of why do you want to go see an acupuncturist? So be clear on that to yourself. Like, what is this that you think traditional Chinese medicine or, like that focused Oriental medicine, like so-called acupuncture is like, that's one tool, but we got all these other tools as well. What is it that what's your chronic or acute conditions that you have? And then you can actually strike up a conversation, because most acupuncturists and chiropractors, even some naturopaths, they don't have a firewall like a doctor does, that firewall of a secretary, where you just can't get through to the actual person to talk to them. Same for dentists too. I want to talk to the actual person and ask them these series of questions, but like, I have X symptoms. What have you treated anyone with these symptoms before, and what did you do for that? And I think that those were some important things. I gotta mention something. Like, if someone said, for example, that they had plantar fasciitis, or if they had diabetes, or if they had ADHD, what they're describing is a series of symptoms. That's not a diagnosis by my metrics. My metrics are, I need to know what the causal vectors are of their symptoms. And their thing, like, so most of you guys not in the business, and even too many of my colleagues in the business, confuse describing symptoms for a diagnostic. Describing symptoms is describing symptoms. A diagnostic is what are the root causes for that specific individual. So if you were given a label, like I have ADHD, or I have, what is that? Bipolar disease, like bipolar syndrome, whatever you want to call that. You're describing a set of symptoms. You don't have a thing. If you say you have depression, you don't have depression. You're feeling sad for good reasons, and so now you want to know, what do you want to do about it? And so those are questions that you can ask the person. If a practitioner, whether they're an acupuncturist, naturopath, or chiropractor, doesn't know this, if they think that bipolar is a diagnostic instead of a symptom describer, I think that's kind of like a red flag that I would raise right there, to say they're indoctrinated. Like, I have COVID. It's like, no, you don't. You have these specific symptoms, Yeah, I'm in that camp, by the way, where until you can show me the isolated particle as being isolated and causing the actual syndrome, it ain't caused by a pathogen. It doesn't work that way. So that's as far as
a question.
Yeah.
2 questions as a follow-up to Kat's. So would an acupuncturist that also has a Chinese herbal medicine associated with it, would that be like an increased factor of trust or of competency? And 2, like in the series of your questions, when it says, how long did it take this other person to get better if you did treat the same condition or symptom, what isn't that counter to the fact that, hey, everybody's is a different individual? It could take a lot less or a lot longer to treat my symptoms because I'm a different individual than the last one? Or how do you use that metric?
Good question. So I'm going to take it the opposite way. I'm asking if they've treated before the condition because I'm just curious. Someone who's never treated your specific symptoms before can still help you. Just like someone who's overweight can still help you lose weight if they're a good professional. They can still help you. Someone who, like it doesn't really quite matter. But it'd be nice to know if it's not you, they still could describe what it sort of could have been like, the journey. They're describing a path of a journey of where a person came there with a problem like yours and what that journey was like. It's a story. It's not your story, but it's a story to help you and start your mind to create that. Just like what Dave was going on, you're creating your new reality. Your new reality is, I am going to this professional. They're going to take me on this journey like this one that I'm now putting in my mind. And I'm going to take myself from here with these symptoms to a pain-free, healthy, and vibrant life forward. So that's partially why it's useful. To the question of herbal medicine, it's nice if a person has more than one tool. I like more than just needles or magnets or lasers or electrostim or all the many ways of stimulating acupuncture points. There's so many ways of stimulating points. Moxibustion with heat on the points. It's good to have all these tools. The thing about herbal medicine, if they're not testing for biocompatibility, they're guessing. They're just guessing. And if they're amazing with pulse diagnosis, which is one of the Oriental medical diagnostic methods, with tongue diagnosis, with the hara and the back shoe point diagnosis, and that's just testing on the points of the stomach and the points of the spine on the back. If they're really good at this type of differential diagnostic, and they've got a really good sense of dowsing, which is way more than finding where to drill your water well. Dowsing is about a skill. It's the same exact power of what makes muscle testing work, is same thing. If they're really good at it, that's what counts. It's about results. And that's why I love just going through a referral system. Yeah. Food for thought.
Darrell, those questions you've got, are those your lead magnets?
Those should be, yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
We
I
need to
think
hook you up with that. We gotta get those questions put together so you can have some lead magnets. Is that man, you have really just this show has been awesome.
well, thank you. I was not expecting that I had to take like front center, but I guess I have to take front center for this one. So I love questions like this. I mean, I really want to inspire people to step up and say like, and also I love people like Daphne to step up and say, hey, how do you solve all the problems? Because like, you know, all you have to do is have some methods and they solve a lot of problems. But yeah, like when it comes to health issues, anyone got some more questions or things to share?
Darrell,
I can share.
Darrell,
Wait,
It-
give
it's-
Gary a chance.
it's
Okay.
Gary Mahan. I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to
welcome,
see
Gary.
Rich. Good to see Mike. I left Mike's house one night and I forgot how to get home. So this is the first time in 2 years I've seen Mike. Just kidding. Anyways, so it's good to be back. And I just wanted to ask you, I practice this and it works really well for me, but it's not for everybody, but I do practice urine therapy. I have very fair skin, but it's tanned up nice being here in Acapulco. And I know when I got skin cancer or something. Guys, when I put my own urine on the spot or over my whole top of my head, it clears up in days. So what's your take on urine therapy if you have one? If not, no problem.
I haven't tried it yet myself, but I just had someone on my show, not medical advice, who went over his own experiences with urine therapy. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, just like other things that I haven't tried, it seems extremely promising. And in this case, seems pretty safe and likely to be effective, unlike vaccines. So it seems like
I haven't
yeah.
been sick in years, Darrell. And everybody should know by now, yes, I do drink my own urine. It's a cup a day, keeps the doctor away. That's the motto.
So it's a
But
whole cup.
Yeah, a cup. I'll sometimes drink 2 or 3 a day, depending how I feel. I listen to my body real good now. I'm really spiritual. I'm a lot more spiritual when I first entered autonomy. I'm a lot more humble. I'm a lot more relaxed. I've had a hell of a journey for the last 3 years. Some people are going to hate me for seeing this, but COVID, the non-existent virus that doesn't exist. But what I'm saying is it's been the best 3 years of my life. It's just been one roller coaster ride, and it's brought me to this great place, and I'm doing wonderful. But urine therapy, I mean, if you go to YouTube, there's people that have done 110-day challenges where that's all they drink. They lose a tremendous amount of weight. They get energy back, and there's no eating. It's just water and your own urine, you know. And some of the testimonials on those YouTube videos, I don't have them in front of me, of course, but I was impressed. And I got the idea from watching a movie once, because in the military, apparently, if you're out in the field and you get wounded and there's nothing around to wash the wound, they'll have other soldiers pee on it. And it helps cauterize quicker and it cleans the wound. Your urine is extremely powerful. Even when I was drinking, I would drink my urine in the morning. And yeah, there was a beer taste, but it still worked. It got over the hangover quicker. So I think it's a God gift. And I just wanted to share that, and I just wanted to hear your take on it. But it's not a big deal, folks. Take a teeth poo and try it first. You don't have to take a shot glass. All right, good to see everybody. So glad to be here today and blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, like I endorse trying things. Like I think if that's something I've learned, it's really important just to try new things like that. And I have things on my list like urine therapy and coffee enemas. I just haven't tried it yet. But at least I understand I've investigated it. I understand the mechanisms, or some of the mechanisms. In the case of coffee enemas, the mechanism that I know is that diluted coffee with water exposed to the portal vein in the rectum makes the body produce glutathione, free-flowing glutathione, which then goes everywhere, especially the liver, to help detoxify various situations. That's why it's part of the Gerson therapy, which is frequently used to treat cancer and degenerative diseases, extreme diseases. And anyone can just do that. The neti pot, I have finally started to get into, just like to put salt water and irrigate the nostrils. And I found out that I have a very deviated septum I've had for a long time. I found out that the structures in my nose are basically kind of enlarged. And that's why I don't breathe very well through my right nostril, which is of course why I've been snoring for years. So I am now in the process of using my own mind and my mental abilities to change that by doing new things. What's new for me is obviously old for Gary in the case of urine therapy, and what's old for me in the case of applied kinesiology and clinical kinesiology is probably new to a lot of you guys. Kat, did you have something to add before Gary jumped on?
You just asked about sharing. I was going to share a couple of my modalities that I love. Yoga's been one for years that I love. I realize I have a preference for things that I can learn, right? Learn a skill and then use it to make myself more healthy, right? The outdoors, fresh air, exercise are one of those things, obviously. Two things that I'm studying now. One is the Feldenkrais method, which is awareness through movement and healing through movement. Very, very powerful method, which I went through the whole practitioner training for and just finished last year. And then another is biogeometry, which has to do with the resonance of shapes and numbers and how that impacts the physiology of living things. And there is a method in the biogeometry of testing for compatibility of things that I'm experimenting with. You know, I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident in it. You talked about, how do you know, are you really biased? And, how are you impacting your own testing? Because you know what you're trying to test for. So those are some things that I'm just fascinated by right now, and there seems to be a lot of power in both of those. I've actually had really good healing results with the Feldenkrais method, which is why I kept studying it for the 4-year practitioner training. And now I'm just figuring out what to do with that next. We'll see. I may teach classes. There are classes that can be taught as well as one-on-one sessions. But it's more in the hobby side thing for me than something I'm actively pursuing right now.
Nice.
Yeah, both are things I think people should know about.
For sure. I mean, I'm hoping everyone here has heard of yoga, because if you haven't, you've really been under a rock somewhere. I don't know. And Feldenkrais is something that I got, I don't know, across my radar, just like blip, like over across the radar 25 years ago when I started my training. But yeah, it's taken me years to more of open my mind to get more tools and new tools. And it has been a very humbling experience, this World War COVID situation of learning new things, like Gary was saying, and being finding more ways of opening up and exploring new options and new ways of thinking. I find that one of the best ways of wellness for myself is being careful on what I consume. So consuming too many action movies was a problem. So I've had to sort of downgrade that, because they get it's just like a constant barrage of death and mayhem and things like that. Too much John Wick, things of that nature. Things like shows and podcasts that were covering too many, I would say, like very toxic, like raw sewage, which is mainstream media, you know, like even like the only way I was able to consume any mainstream media was through the multiple mediations of various reporters like James Corbett, as they're just sort of reporting on things that are widely promoted, and then they're just speaking of them and trying to apply context and apply more rational approach to it. But what I was realizing that what I put my attention to is really much what I'm going to create in my reality, as Dave was speaking regarding the Joe Dispenza methods. And I really do try to, like, as I'm listening more to like Frederick Dodson and other reality creation methodology, and putting aside podcasts and such that were just really promoting a very like, you know, like, oh no, everyone worry about this latest thing, the central bank digital currencies, everyone clench up about this. They're going to pass the TikTok ban, and it's going to take away everyone's, they're going to like make VPNs illegal. And it's like, it's applying like this like tension thing, you know. And I have to say, like, you know, like, why am I living in Hawaii and applying tension to myself? That doesn't make sense, you know. So yeah, like, as what I put in my mind, you know, so I'm reading Carlos Castaneda again, just to go back over all of his books, and just having fun with that version of like taking myself to different places, whether that is fiction or not. I just find that reading paper books that are, like, I would say just like recreational, and not like recreational books like, oh, here's the prescription for nutritional healing, not recreational. Or, you know, What Really Makes You Ill by Dawn Lester and David Parker, rather 700-page thick description of why the germ theory doesn't work and what actually creates, you know, health and sickness. And then of course, the super big version, Alternative Medicine, the Definitive Guide, used to be sold for like 1 penny on Amazon, but now they make sure to always make a profit on this one. Like when I started a mastermind with Rich, but right before he started Autonomy, as he was generating this idea of this, and I was able to send everyone a link to get this on Amazon for 1 penny plus shipping. And what this book is, by the way, is the first half of this book is everything A to Z of methods. So it has urine therapy in here, I believe. I think, let's see if I go under you. Yeah, there it is. A traditional Chinese medicine, obviously yoga, hydrotherapy, nutritional supplements. It's all A to Z of the methods. And then the second part of the book is conditions, medical conditions. So you could just look up your medical condition, and it'll give you the do-it-yourself version, and then it'll give you the professional version for like what choices of professions you could consider doing and what you'd be looking at in doing that. It's for a beginner, for someone who doesn't know crap, because you're just not been in the business. That's a good one, you know, better than the other ones that I showed you.
Darrell, could you tell us the name of that book again, please? The big one.
That big one, Alternative Medicine, the Definitive Guide. And this is compiled by the Burton Goldberg Group. Lots of different authors. Alternative Medicine Definitive Guides. They have definitive guides on cancer, on women's health, on magnetic therapy. They have a whole series of them. And in fact, what I'm going to try to find for you, if you guys all heard of library.lol, what a great website. Because I believe it might be possible to find that whole PDF and EPUB in library.lol. So you could just download the copy right there for free, like right now. I'll try to look for that. All I have to do in order to look for that link is get someone else to tell a story.
I think Jane had a question, and maybe Agnieszka had something to add.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Jane. We can't hear you.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
I have a question for you. as being a practitioner, do you have any tips for patients or your clients as to how to communicate to you sort of what they're experiencing so that you can actually understand more about what you can do for them? Because I had a physician, he was a DO, and he wanted me to either douse or do some muscle testing if I ran across something. And I thought it was kind of unusual. And at first I thought it was kind of a little silly, but like what I didn't know is I could not use any commercial toothpaste, not one. And I didn't know that. And he was saying, before you use some of your personal products now, why don't you just muscle test for it? Well, I was running out of toothpaste. And, he had made a suggestion, baking soda, and I remembered peppermint oil. And I think he wanted me to put some clay in there. But I just kind of like thought, you know what? Let's see what would happen if I just put a little pile of baking soda in my palm and just dropped a couple of peppermint drops in there, some essential oil. And I got a positive. And it was shocking to me. It was shocking. But then when I described what happened and how that was working better for me, he was able to actually help me out with other things that I didn't really think were even possibly related. So, I mean, do you have that was sort of like an example of my experience of how my DO wanted to communicate with me. Is there something in particular that you find helpful?
Helpful to communicate with my clients?
Yeah, so that they can communicate to you valuable information that helps to make it easier for you to actually treat them.
Yeah, I try to find out, what are they doing? Who else are they working with? What I like in this case, if someone was trained in dowsing, like sounds like, and some forms of muscle testing, that's really good to know. Obviously I can't think to ask that of a lot of people when the question itself is going to just raise eyebrows and they're not going to know what I'm talking about, but I just would encourage a disclosure of like laying out everything that's going on. The first part of any session I have with a client, especially a new patient, is going over their history and what actually is wrong, like that they want to have changed, and what their health goals are and how they're doing with that. And then the next part I'm asking about is what are they actually consuming, like what's going into them and onto them. So I think that there's something that happens when you go through professional training, is that you are on the table for like your professional, for your colleagues to work on you, and you switch places over and over again. So you really get to know how to be a really efficient, effective client. And I think a lot of clients have not been through that process where you didn't now you're laying down and you're trying to make it easier for your colleague to treat you. Now you're over them and they're trying to make it easier for you to treat them. You're not thinking like that. Like, you're not thinking like a professional, like where you're dishing out the treatment. You're just like in your own story going on. There's a story thing like that. So I think that the thing to make communication easier is to step out of the internal story for just a moment, just to describe what the real story is actually for yourself. A good professional wants to hear your story, and they schedule the time for your story. I schedule 2 hours for my clients usually. I mean, sometimes if they can't afford that, I would, bump it back to just 1 hour if that's a problem for them financially. But yeah, it's all about a meeting of the minds, like just to understand where people are at. A DO, a doctor of osteopathy, and I guess he found like what you and him were both finding, no toothpaste ever tested for you, Jane?
It always showed up as a negative.
Yeah. And I know there's so many products out there that just have too many surfactants, these sudsing agents that just are I think that like the number one, what would that be called? Just like not biocompatible. And that's where like sometimes you go like the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, you know, just like very like what you did with just, okay, trying the baking soda and organic essential oil of peppermint. There we go, like 2 things right there. Or bentonite clay and charcoal and baking soda together, you know, like that could be 3 things or 2 of those things. I've heard in Africa they just brush their teeth with salt, you know. That's a thing. I think less is more is usually the way it goes. And with a professional, it just helps to be disclosing what's really going on, your actual real symptoms, as many of them as you can disclose, and how you're feeling also in the treatment process. So I'm usually asking all those questions. Is the temperature okay? Very important when you're getting acupuncture. Like, is it like, I need the windows open and the fan on, or I need warmth. I need a heating pad and to be covered up with blankets, you know, like that kind of thing. The movement of air, the disclosure. Too many of us are just not telepathic and mind reading. We just have not gained that skill yet, like to just do that. But I think that there is that capacity for people just to go in. Well, someone has someone actually already put the definitive guide like from libgen.is, which is similar to library.lol. It's where library.lol goes there. That was, this Nick. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. That's the book basically.
I just sent it out to everybody, but it was PS who sent it to me.
Oh yeah, I see. I got it. That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, my God, it's just so simple. You just go there. We might do a screen share on how to use that, just to grab the mirror and to download it to the location on your computer that you can find. Very important with using your computer. I wanted to know, Jane, did I answer your question on communicating, or did that help? Hope you're muted, but
Yes, it did help, because I know everyone has their like a different style, but also different types of modalities of practitioners have they need different types of information. So
they do.
My deal didn't necessarily need, he would just say, how are you feeling today? And we'd go from top to bottom, like, are my eyes irritated? What does my tongue look like? How does, do I feel like I'm having heart palpitations? Is my stomach upset? How was it, like when I was getting up in the morning and going to bed? Bowel movements, urination, just the whole thing. We'd go from top to bottom. And then usually every so many weeks, I was taking some sort of blood test or urine test or some sort of metabolic test. And I mean, he helped me to realize that even though I could not find a biological dentist, I had to get the fillings out. It was affecting me so very badly, and that I had some toxic exposure, heavy duty toxic exposure to plastics as a child. And so it created a bunch of problems over time because I never released it. So most of my sessions with him were about just detoxifying and detoxifying and detoxifying all the time, and then making sure that I wasn't detoxifying all my nutrients too. And it ended up being like a really good relationship for me to get healthy. But I mean, for me to have gotten to him, I was in a really bad place. So, I realized I've tried to go to regular physicians, but they tell me a lot of times they'll tell me to take too much medication, and I'm super sensitive to it. I can't take anything in extreme. So, I mean, they nearly killed me when I went into the hospital because they thought that I needed more insulin and more, they kind of like, I just blew up with everything that they did. And it was because I'm not sure, well, I wasn't able to talk to them because I was in pretty bad shape, but it was like there was no communication really. It was them giving it to me. But with holistic practitioners, it's the opposite. You have to communicate in order for them to help you heal. And so, you know, you can't be shy. You want to get better, you got to talk, right?
Yeah, that helps to share, to really, disclosure really helps. Like, I like to ask people just to go ahead and bring in everything they're taking. And then eventually have them start bringing in everything that they're eating on the regular. You know, bring in a cooler, bring in a bag of other stuff, and then I can go through the process of blind testing, putting things in paper bags and just seeing how compatible is this stuff. And keeping in mind that the testing is a snapshot in time. If it doesn't test well today, that does not mean it won't test well tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. Though a lot of people would love to think that it works that way because they want answers. Everyone craves certainty, right? They'd love to like now I know what the real deal is. It was the Jesuits all along. It's like, no, it wasn't that simple, you know. It wasn't just the Templars.
It's always the Jesuits, Darrell. Always.
It's always the Jesuits. So yeah, it's actually a nuanced and subtle mixture of every reality, and everything can be going on like that. It sounds like your DO, that your doctor of osteopathy, works on a similar way that I do. It's like in basic traditional Chinese medicine, asks them the 10 questions, you know, to go through all of these aspects of your life and your health. And yeah, to take a look at what people are generally doing to themselves and having them bring that in on the regular. I like I've got a client I see like where I'm helping them go down from, say, what looked to be like, I think started with 12 different pharmaceutical meds. And I think we got it down to about like 7 now. And hopefully soon we're like, I keep finding like ways to replace the next one with something, and remove that. And when I replace it with something, it's only a temporary thing because I want that to also to go away. If it's a nutraceutical product, I'm aiming for, you know, hopefully, like, I mean, it's nice to have like a supplement for a long period of time. Like I'm experimenting now with copper, nanoparticles of copper and fulvic, humic, that detox supplements and things, to see what can I do about graying hair, preventing it in my case, but also these parts gray for me here on my chin, and that's kind of a sign of copper deficiency. So what can I do to stop that? And I can imagine for a time that would be good, but then eventually I'd rather be getting my copper from food, you know, from something like sea vegetables possibly, or something like that. So yeah, I think it's really good to see how many options there are. Wow, almost at the top of the hour. And I want to see anyone else have some earth-shattering aha moments from the show, from Do It Live today.
I wanted to say something I was thinking about saying earlier when we were talking about shampoo, because like you said, everything is a very individual thing. And even if you don't know how to muscle test or whatever, you can still observe your reaction to certain thing, and, you know, your body, your skin, your hair, whatever, right? And really observe yourself and be in touch with who you are and how you're feeling with that particular item or whatever, food item, medicine, cleaning product, whatever. For example, with my hair, I cannot, like somebody said about using vinegar and baking soda. If I did that 3 times in a row, all my hair would fall off my head. because I have a 2-year-old's hair on my head. And that vinegar and baking soda just burns right through it and leaves like a really breakable, nasty mess. So what I need is like very, very, very delicate, super delicate shampoo, and maybe very, very little of it. And then I use that, you know what I mean? So, and occasionally only. But yeah, and the argan oil, Otto, that does make a difference, because argan oil is specifically formulated or specifically penetrating for hair. And that's why you're getting such good results, as opposed to other oils, you may not have same kind of level of result. That's my wisdom for today. Nice seeing you, Darrell.
Thank you so much, Agnieszka. That was great. I'm writing down argan oil on my notes for today. Like, gotta remember that. And I recommend, by the way, everyone just go ahead to the meeting chat for today here and just go ahead and copy and paste that into a Word doc or something, so you could capture all those links before they go away at the end of the show. And there's such an amazing amount that can be gotten from library.lol, and that automatically can go to libgen.is, which thanks to the international nature of domains, is out there and beyond the copyright police of people who are trying to stop the spread of information. So there, I might even just go ahead and screen share a little bit of that. But like, how do you do that? We'll see.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. So does everyone, library Genesis, is that showing up for folks here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming through.
You got it coming through. Okay. So there it is. Alternative Medicine, the Definitive Guide. And that is a Mobi. And then there's a EPUB. And the EPUB is probably the best. So I'm going to click on that, second edition. Oh, okay. That didn't work.
What kind of software opens an EPUB file?
Oh, I use Ice Cream Reader. That's the one that I've got. And I am not finding those links to be satisfying. Here, I'm going to try again. Over here. Oh. Okay. Mobi, EPUB. Well, there we go. I got it. Alternative Medicine, the Definitive Guide. And then I go to here, and then I go to this mirror that's on the left. I usually click that one. The other versions down there will probably also work, but I just go to this mirror, and now it opens up. And then I go up at the top in the middle, Get. I click on Get, and usually for me, okay, it's already like it's downloading. It looks like it's 14.2 megabytes. That whole thick book, 14.2 megabytes. Amazing, huh? But I also could save as, so I want to know where is it saving. And I would go to the desktop. Put it in my desktop, please. And there's the EPUB there. And then I go to, Ice Cream Reader free EPUB, Ice Cream free EPUB reader is what I presently use. It's very handy. There's a paid version and a free version. The paid version doesn't interrupt you with the question of, do you want the free version? Do you want the paid version? I haven't paid for it quite yet, but it's very, I do love EPUBs that way. They look, it's a lot more versatile in terms of how to use it and look at it than a PDF. It's nice. It's friendlier on the eyes, I find. I don't have a tablet at the moment, but that in a nutshell is how I use it. Actually, one more thing, I'll just go to how does it work? Library.lol. I'm just going to, and there it goes here. I have 3 choices. I can just go to the middle one, libgen.is. I could type in any book. Let's just say the Definitive Guide to Cancer. And we'll see if does it pop right up? Third edition. Yep, that's it. Alternative medicine guides. This mirror. And save link as, so I can know where am I putting it, which I want the desktop. And yeah, that's how I get books. Very, very handy. And I've learned a lot in the last couple of years about how wrong I was to assume things in medicine. So that been a big moment of humility. I was wrong to assume that some viruses did cause disease. I just assumed it instead of looking at what virology is composed of. And now I was wrong to assume that bacteria can come from outside and proliferate inside. Instead, it seems like the evidence shows that bacteria are already inside and outside, but they're already inside doing their job, which is to proliferate in the process of removing cell waste and dead cells and eat them and remove them. And other bacteria help make nutrients like vitamin B12, and other bacteria do other jobs as well as terms of hormone regulation. In fact, there's a lot of types of biota that are inside of us that aren't us, that are just not the human cells, but are bacterial and other subcellular, organisms, and they do their job. Problem is when they overgrow. Then that could cause inflammation. And if that inflammation is in a critical area like the heart or brain, that will kill you. And that's with the miracle of antibiotics, to wipe the slate clean and kill all the bacteria. And now the inflammation will go down and now you're alive. It's a miracle at a cost, but I would take that cost over death for sure. So I make sure to go and order. I get my own amoxicillin and Keflex and Cipro, and I keep them in my freezer for just such an emergency, because I've had times where all of my natural medicine was not working and I needed to treat the situation. I didn't really want to go through the process of having a bad fever for multiple days. I didn't want that process of healing that was very painful and uncomfortable, not to mention makes it working impossible. I liked having the power of being able to handle it, just like I like owning medicines that are potent. And all I have to do to order such antibiotics is I go and look for fish antibiotics, because it's the exact same antibiotics. And I get them that way. Or you can get them from other for treating other livestock, for example. They have them that way too. Just like the way I got my ivermectin at Tractor Supply Company. But I'm aiming to go for natural medicines first. I have yes.
I just wanted to mention Tractor Supply has changed their policy on veterinary drugs, and you have to bring in a veterinary prescription now. At least in Idaho, that's what has happened, and that just changed just recently.
Well, that's lame. Well, then we'll take our business to their competitors.
Actually, I believe that there's a way to get it through India, and that's the only thing that I've heard of, but I haven't gotten the address or my friends don't know how to find that address. So, but that is truly one of the easier ways to get it. And then there's also some states that are actually allowing it now, so you can get it through a regular physician, and you can do that even with a web doctor.
I think at this point, thankfully, the market for liberty, which is freedom, is pretty heavy. If you have tyranny, you're going to increase the market for liberty. So if you try to stop people from buying what they want, safe ivermectin in this case, well, now you're going to open up the market elsewhere. There's like someone else will sell it. And I think all we have to do is just someone here could just in this Do It Live could go and look to see where can I order whatever it is online, ivermectin or whatever the medicine is that you want. And I bet you there's going to be some version of it, of where to find it. And I think the good time is to find it is when you don't need it. It's like, it's a good time to sort of like, the good time to own a gun and ammunition is before you need it, like, and then training with it and storing it. And the same thing for medicine. I know all you guys in the UK are crazy about owning guns, right, Nick? And so y'all are well stocked up. But yeah, that's most of the time. But yeah, it really doesn't take much just to have a freezer and put a few important medicines aside in there. That's where actually at my girlfriend's house, I have like a whole fridge just for medicines. Like just because her house came with a mini fridge, like, and like kind of like 3/4 the size of what you want a fridge to be. Like not like mini like in a college dorm, but like that like size. And obviously for real vegetables and everything and fruits and everything like that, we need a real normal American fridge, so that little fridge becomes the medicine fridge, and all those medicine stuff can go in there. And if you can afford the electricity costs, and I'm grateful generally speaking that that's not an issue, then it's a great place. If you don't put your medicines, here's the thing, like if anyone here raise your hand if you take fish oil or krill oil. Yeah, so Dave. Okay. Animal oils need to be in a fridge or freezer. You don't keep them out on the shelf. You might buy them off of the shelf. That's poor quality. I think like I want really high quality, like I want to order them direct and want to get them sent to me. They go in the fridge. Plant oils, animal oils. I'm in the tropics. No, they don't go out. Coconut oil I can do for massage purposes, but and it can be like, soft like that, but oils go rancid. Animal oils go rancid. So think of that for medicines too. Like, I know it's nice when it's all in a capsule, so it's airtight in there and it's maybe sealed up. They have like the thing in there that gets rid of the oxygen, like that little packet they put in there. But once it's opened up and the air hits it, time is ticking on how good that medicine's going to stay, how long it'll stay. You put it in the freezer, you have slowed time down. You have now made that medicine like go the distance, and so I just want to say, like, you can treat your medicines right by keeping them cool or frozen. And you might not know that.
You know what we should do, Darrell?
What's that?
We should do like an autonomy health summit where a few of us from autonomy get together and we give like the most practical day-to-day advice for like a whole Saturday where like everybody has an hour or two of talk time, and like we can even sell tickets to the outside people, like people who are not inside the University of Reason.
Yeah, that sounds
That's
awesome.
a wonderful idea. A really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
If anybody wants to make that happen, I'll attend.
Yeah. I want to get all kinds of big name people who have like their strong opinions on stuff on there. I like that.
Like Del Bigtree.
I was thinking like more like Dr. Shiva. I was thinking like people who are in the business, and
see, I was thinking like the actual people in autonomy, because we have so much unique talent. Like, for example, Willow with her trauma consultant service. Like, how many trauma consultants have you ever met? You know what I mean? And this woman specializes in trauma, like lifetime. It's amazing. So like things that you wouldn't find at any other summit kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I would be open to for sure having folks like Del Bigtree and anyone who has been like on the forefront of trying to understand reality through evidence, and like hopefully moving the needle further, like along the evidence will show you which way to go. I love that. And I'm really grateful today for having you, Daphne, on to just help us understand this modality of trauma and tension release exercises. I mean, I'm really grateful for everyone sharing on the things that reminding me about urine therapy, Gary. That was good to know. And Jane, it was really helpful for me to know about, like, yeah, go simple with the toothpaste, and like to try to like get more of some of my clients to really bring in their product to test, you know. Sometimes I have people who are really willing to go the distance and work with me. Some people, they're just going to take their drugs and they're not going to bring anything in. They can't remember anything. And I'm just there to help them, you know, like do what I can while they're there in office. Or for folks who are out there at a distance, like I work for various, you know, obviously I'm not selling my services to season 9 students. That's my disclaimer, but I for sure work for the other season people when you seek me out for my help. And anyone who's watching this can go ahead and, yeah, well, you can reach out to me. Like if you're on Autonomy, and you can, I'll give you a free 15-minute consult and see if I'll show you what I can do for free, and we can discuss what I can do for a fee. And yeah, we can go from there. I just make that as a general offer.
Well, now that you said that, I have to say that my new website is up, and it's called yourbodylanguage.info. And it is just baked, still hot. Probably need some cleaning up around the corners, but you know, we're working on it. But this is a challenge for all the season 9 students, because doing the health summit would be a really good idea. We have a lot of talent in autonomy already that would be amazing for this kind of thing. And whoever would choose to organize it or put all the things together could possibly make money on it. I mean, if you do marketing and sales outside autonomy, you can certainly sell tickets and make money, you know, and especially having names that are known from other, you know, conferences and stuff. That could be a really interesting project. Personally, I cannot take that on at this time because, like I said, I'm just launching my website and doing other things, and I have 3 more conferences confirmed for later on this year. I want to make sure my book is out by then. So, you know, there's a lot going on.
Can you
My
repeat
new thing. So my new thing is called Sovereign Body Language. And so that's what everything this year is going to be circled around, is, you know, freedom fighters cleanly communicating their very important message with the world.
Ignacio, what was your website again?
Yourbodylanguage.info.
Looks like someone already Pius already found out how to buy ivermectin, and
nice.
Also put yourbodylanguage.info here in the chat. Boy, this chat is something that's really thick. It makes quite an amazing Word doc right there. So
we should post it in the class chat or something so people have access to it.
Yeah, I have 15 minutes left, so this is your chance. Where I'm going to, you know, off planet after that. I'm just kidding. I'll be available. But
Darrell, I am just so thrilled. Honestly, this is, I think, the first time that I've seen the morning Darrell, and boy, you bring a lot in the morning. I think. I think maybe, you know, when you do your next course, maybe you should try it in the morning, because I think you bring a lot more energy to it. You're just like glowing.
Thank you for that. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot to talk on when it comes to something that you go study for 25 years plus. So yeah, any other observations or questions for me or Daphne or the other professionals here? Oh, we might be like, what we could, you know, what I might do then is just like, I'm going to do a copy paste thing. I'll just grab the whole chat and just stick it into a Word document. which is my catch-all version of how I capture things. I don't know. What was that?
Oh, hi. Yeah, if I got I guess a quick question then, if there's a few minutes. Just not anything I'm looking to get into right away, but at some point I would likely be interested as far as like learning more about herbal type medicines and preparations and kind of, you know, plant uses. Really don't know a whole lot at all as far as, you know, use of plants at this point. So just kind of wondering, you know, kind of a shotgun approach of maybe where to start, start kind of looking. That's all.
Cool. Wow. Herbal medicine, where to start? That's a really good thing. What I would consider starting would be, where are your symptoms, Steve? You know, that's where I start with where you actually have something that you can feel and have impact on you. So for example, for Jane, where to start would be like, how about how we're gonna make a toothpaste that doesn't hurt me? You know, in this case with the minerals of baking soda and the herbal medicine of essential oil of peppermint. And so it comes down to like, I like practical applications personally. Like I like, and then from there, like say if the problem was oral health or the problem was sleeping or whatever it is, you get to look into Western herbal medicine and look at what those medicines are. You get to look into Chinese herbal medicine. Look at what those medicines are. You can go into looking Amazonian medicine, like things from the South America. Look at what those ones are. Look at African medicine. And of course, Native North American medicine. I love chaparral, by the way. That's one of my favorites for that continent. The chaparral leaf made into a tincture. It's one of my MVPs, most valuable player kind of one. But focus on that. And then from there, you get to look up, thanks to library.lol, you could start to get whatever big tome you want on the topic if you wanted to look through it. But then you can narrow in on like reading a monograph on the specific herbs, where like you can find out the pharmacognosy and pharmacology of it when they break the thing down. And if you're just curious on what phenols and polyphenols and terpenes and sesquiterpenes and all these components that I can't remember, but I had to take a test on because that's what they do to medical professionals, is they make us take tests on things that we get to forget later on.
Right.
But you really, there's not like one book that I like to say, like, go this and then that'll get you everything herbal medicine. Like, I think that honestly, when I look at prescription for natural healing, yeah, this one's a nice one. Like, I like this because it's not just the herbal medicine, but it's also the vitamins, minerals, and food supplements too. And that's the prescription for nutritional healing, probably also available on library.lol. You know.
And you know, herbal medicine is a good opportunity to like improve and flex that intuition muscle, because in reality, whatever herb you're drawn to is probably the one you need the most at this time, right? And your body knows on the very deep level. My new favorite tincture, you mentioned tinctures there, Darrell, and now I have to say it, is laurel leaf. And I actually started taking it for anxiety and grief because my best friend died. And turns out that it's giving me amazing digestive benefits where my elimination system has completely repaired itself. And I don't get any of the symptoms I used to with like the digestive eliminations issues when I just take like a teaspoon or half a teaspoon twice a day of this laurel. And it's so cheap and easy to make at home, and you can make it in a week. So anyway, my new favorite tincture.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's really a lot of ways to go.
And by the way, laurel leaf is bay leaf, the same stuff you put in soup.
Yeah, there we go. Yes. That's, yeah. So many available medicines out there. I'm closing in on 7 minutes, and I'm hoping that inspires someone to ask a question or to make a comment.
This was great, Darrell. I really appreciate the gathering, the information, and everybody's input. I really enjoyed. Thank you. And next week, it looks like I will be hosting with Nick. So come back, you all, and we'll just review the week for autonomy, and it'll be my first ever podcast. So I'll try to stick with the what do you call it? The guideline, and see how it goes. But I really appreciated this subject and everything about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And by the way, you're first but not your last, because Daphne, I'd love to have you on my show, Not Medical Advice, to talk about the TRE and how you got started and all of that, because I think it's a fun story, and I'd like to give it to my audience there.
All
and I don't have a lot of Not Medical Advice shows yet, but I got 13 of them, but I'm aiming to really boost that number up by just more proficiency, just like more doing more. And yeah, boy, is there like a lead out closeout song, or do we all kumbaya hold hands together? What's the procedure here, Nick? How do you guys do it?
Well,
Yeah,
actually
usually
stop
you
the
can just
recording and continue hanging out for another half an hour.
Oh, you play the outro. There is an outro.
There is an outro? I don't have the outro. Damn.
it's the same as the intro.
Oh.
It's very complicated.
But everyone, you all
that.
have to dance in the opposite way than you did the first time it played.
I bounced the opposite way.
Oh, sort of like the toilet water spinning differently in the southern hemisphere kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that idea. Well, hey, I'm gonna play us out. It's really been an honor to work for you guys. This is what I love to do. It doesn't, like I said before, it's not really making me the money and lifestyle I want, but if I had $100 million, I'd still be giving healthcare treatments because it's what I like to do. You know, I would just have a fancier office space. That's all. And I want 2 practitioners in every home. I want people to do your own acupuncture. I don't want licenses that stop you. I want everyone to learn like what Jane does, to learn how to do dowsing and muscle testing, to learn how to do biocompatibility testing. I want really everyone to stop with the barrier to entry and get the skills like that. And when you need to, hire a professional, hire me. You know, I can find you a really proficient professional. I was showing you some of what I do, but I really do a lot more than that. I do a complete comprehensive analysis of what's going on and write you a very detailed report. There's no one here that I've written a report for yet, but I'm looking around here in the schema of who's on the call, but I'll do that. And that's it, everyone. Hey, have a great Saturday. It's like closing in on 11:30. I'm going to jujitsu class. Wishing you all the best. Gonna play us out in just a second here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Darrell. Good seeing you, Mike. Rich. Nice to meet everyone.
Ready, set, go.
Oh.
Nice work, Darrell. That was amazing.
Cool.
Awesome. Hey, Darrell, before you go to the jujitsu, I just want to ask you a question. Do you still check your Discord chat?
Yes. I was just I was just sharing my Discord in order to play this DIL.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, I didn't look, but I'll text
Discord,
you there. I have a
Circle,
question for
Keybase.
you.
Yes.
I have questions. I'll send you messages.
Okay, you message me and I'll answer them. Yes, that's how it
Enjoy
works.
jujitsu. Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, man.
Good day,
Bye,
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.